You're listening to The Bounding Box, where we talk about web development, geo development, and everything in between. All right, so welcome to The Bounding Box. So today I have a very special guest with me. I have Lisa Berry on the line here. So Lisa, could you please introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and what your problem is?
Hey Renee, my name is Lisa Berry. I am a senior product engineer at Esri on the Living Atlas team. And my problem is that there are too many things to map and not enough time to map them all.
That's awesome. So, how long have you been at Esri now? Because I know you, I think you probably were here before I got to Esri. I can't remember now.
I started January of 2014, so I am coming up on 9 years, and I've been on the same team since day one, and I would not change a thing because I get to play with data and maps all day. Every day, I get to write code, I get to test software. I'd like to say I'm living the GIS dream.
That's awesome. It's a great mix too, because like you said, you get to write code, you get to make maps and play with the data and stuff like that. And honestly, I don't get to play with data too often on a regular basis. I used to before I joined Esri. I worked county. I was creating maps
Right.
and munging a lot of data and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun, but I don't really do much of that anymore. I'm just working on like writing the code and helping people with data stuff. So that's very cool.
Yeah, I'm very lucky, and like I said, I have the dream.
So like it used to be back in the day, we get the census data and like you wait every 10 years and you do some cool stuff with it here and there. And if you're lucky, maybe Department of Finance, something like that, releases some more data and you can mix that up. And you have to do American Fact Finder and all that stuff, but it's a little different now. That I mean, there's no more
Oh yeah.
American Fact Finder. They have like a data portal and stuff you can get to and everything now. So, what's the process of like the steps you take to get data into Living Atlas or update some of the current stuff that's already in Living Atlas?
That's a great question. When it comes to census data in particular, that's my wheelhouse. Me and my direct team, the policy mapping team, we work on getting census data and particularly American Community Survey data into Living Atlas, and we use our own Python API. Um, and so we are users of our own software. And so it's super cool. We get to, find the little intricacies and be the first people to test things out. But yeah, nowadays the census has a really wonderful API, and we utilize that to its fullest. And so for the American Community Survey data, we're able to extract the data, process it, get it into the right format, join it with the correct boundaries, make sure every field is in the right format, add alias names, long descriptions, and we get all of that hosted into ArcGIS Online. Like I said, pretty much all with Python. And we actually have a Python process that we run every year to update it. So as soon as the census updates their newest figures, we run a script and it updates all of our ACS layers with the newest data. So we, like I said, we are users of our own product.
And that's awesome. Now, is the ACS data part of what people use geo enrichment for as well? That
Um,
data.
That's a great question. In general, when you access Living Atlas data through something like GeoEnrichment or Business Analyst, it actually is living in a slightly different world and processed a little bit different, but it is ultimately the same data. It's just how you access it is a little bit different. But that's actually a question we get quite often is that our Business Analyst data and whatnot and within enrichment is technically in the Living Atlas
Okay.
sphere.
Yeah, because I always get a little confused. Sometimes I'll get some data. I'm like, well, should I just try and merge this with the Living Atlas layer, or do I go the geo enrichment route and let it do its thing for me and stuff? So yeah, I get a little confused sometimes when working with that stuff too. So
Oh yeah, and the methodology for geo-enrichment is online in our documentation, and so, oh man, we could spend a whole day talking about apportionment.
that's cool. And we were talking about this too. You use Arcade a lot to do the visualizations for the Living Atlas
Mhm.
stuff too, right? Because it's not just the layers, but you're actually creating the web maps that people can use. That's part of the Living Atlas too, right?
Right. Our team actually creates pretty much any type of item. We create the data layer, which is, we actually do more than just the raw data. We try to make sure it has default symbology and default pop-up. So even the layer has something configured on it. So you're not just getting this blank map every time you open the data within a map. But yes, we actually do create a huge wealth of web maps because each one of those layers in Living Atlas could have up to 100, 200 fields in it. Each one of those fields is its own map. And so our team is really lucky. We get to just play with this data and try to make as many maps about questions that are being asked to us by the GIS community. And we get to share that through resources like Living Atlas and policy mapping so that I bet if you ask a question about socioeconomic factors, someone else has also asked it. And so we try to map it.
Awesome. Now, so I'm assuming when your team makes Living Atlas data, they push data out, that becomes the authoritative data at that point. Are there other authoritative data sets from partners or customers or anyone else like that that they publish that becomes authoritative? What's this process for something like that?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I would say there's a mix of what's in Living Atlas of our users who have contributed their data from an authoritative source. And then there's some cases where that may not be possible. And so Esri takes it upon ourselves to do that data processing. Just a few examples, some of our, just killer contributors to Living Atlas are organizations like NOAA and CDC. They actually host and own a lot of their own data. And so that's awesome because then they just go through a nomination process and we curate what they hand us. But like I said, in some cases, that's not quite possible. And so we'll do that data processing and hosting for them. A huge example of that is our live feeds. Did you know you can access live weather, live stream gauges, live earthquakes, live fires, live smoke detection? And those are coming from sources like the National Weather Service, USGS. And so we actually are doing that hard work of going to their FTP site, going to their API and extracting it, say every 5 minutes so that you don't have to.
That's awesome. That saves a lot of time for people having to put that kind of stuff together for sure.
Oh my gosh. And that's probably the comment we get the most from people is, oh my gosh, I used to do this by hand. It would take me 3 weeks before I ever even started to work on the data. And now they just add it into their map and they're able to just start mapping.
It always
Start
kills every
analyzing.
time I see something like that, that like someone's just made a new map with all this cool data on it. I'm like, no, that seriously would have taken me like a week of just trying
Right.
to put together. It would have taken 2 days of like phone calls to get a hold
Right.
of like someone in the agency that could send me the data, and then to put the whole thing
Right.
together. Yeah, it's amazing. It's a great resource for sure.
Right. And we're super lucky because our team covers a wide span of socioeconomic, infrastructure, environmental topics, and we work directly with a lot of these organizations. And we also have a lot of subject matter experts on the team, and so we have a lot of people who have been there. A lot of our teammates have spent countless hours doing this by hand, and then we said, let's not do that by hand anymore.
Now, once someone is looking at Living Atlas Day, so like I guess the steps someone would find is that Living Atlas actually has its own entry point website on ArcGIS.com. They can go to and find data through there, and they can go ahead and open that data up in the map viewer. Is there any like tricks or something like that they can do if they want to start exploring the data and maybe change the renderer that you're using, something like that? Like, what would someone do with it once they have it in their own map?
No, that's a great question. And to be honest, wherever you make your maps, wherever you already have your workflows, you're able to access Living Atlas content. And so you don't actually have to change anything that you're doing. You just say, when you do add data, you just choose Living Atlas instead of, say, your local C drive. And you're able to just simply add these things into your map and use them like they're your own data. But I would say, yeah, there's three main ways to get to the data. That we have our own website, which is a great place to kind of just explore what's possible, browse the different categories, see the world of possibilities. And you can open items from there. Or, like I said, you can do it directly within your map in ArcGIS Pro. You can do it directly within your map in ArcGIS Online. And so, um, you would style it the same way you would style other things. But, I think we try to encourage that data exploration. Yes, it may be symbolized by an attribute already, but go ahead and try a different attribute. Let online tell you more about the statistics of that attribute. And, I even have a blog I wrote that said, explore before you map. It really is like spend 5 to 10 minutes with your data before you think you already know what your map is going to be, like, and I would say that's the fact with any data. But, we do try to encourage best practices within Living Atlas, like having good alias names, having a good pop-up, having long descriptions. Those in ArcGIS Online are incredibly powerful. We put those in our ACS layers, and people are able to see the detailed metadata that you would normally have to go hunt
Yeah.
on the census websites. It's built directly into the layer. You don't even have to leave the map.
The
So you can
descriptions are
do so much
great.
exploration. Oh my gosh, you can do all this exploration directly within the map. You don't have to go to the websites anymore and hunt and be a subject matter expert. And so, yes, we are huge proponents of like long descriptions and alias names. But
Yeah, because you look at some of the like native field names, it's like B
oh
zero
man,
zero 1283 or something like yeah.
underscore E.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna ask this question, Lisa. You know that anyone you talk to is asking this question. Race car driving. That's like your thing, right? I mean, how did you get into that?
Oh, and that's a funny story. Yeah, so my whole family does what's called autocross, and my dad has actually been doing it since the 70s, pretty much right when
Oh
he got out of
wow.
high school. And it just became this family thing. So I grew up racing with my sisters, and we all started in go-karts as kids. And I even met my fiance at a race, a few years ago. And so my sister met her husband racing. It has very much been built into like our family and who we are. And it's just, it is super kind of funny that, my parents tried 3 times for sons and they had 3 daughters, but that's okay. They all still race cars. My
Oh, that's
sister's a
awesome.
mechanical engineer.
Okay, so at this point, it's perfectly clear I know nothing about race car driving or autocross. So I'm about to ask Lisa a very dumb question. Do you have a favorite track that you like to race on?
And so we actually race what's called autocross. And so it's what's funny is we do this in parking lots
Oh, I didn't know
around
that. Wow, okay.
cones.
I didn't know that's what it was. All right.
That's most of what we do. My fiance races on actual racetracks. I would say one of his favorite that he got to race on was COTA, um, which is Circuit of the Americas, which is an
Wow.
F1 track in Texas. And he said that was just like he has never smiled so big in his life. And I would say just sharing that experience, I would say probably COTA. It's pretty cool.
Okay. That's awesome. That is awesome. Man. All right, Lisa, thank you very much. I don't want to keep you too long. I want to respect your time here, but I did want to ask if you had any tips or tricks for listeners that are, looking into mapping, getting into mapping, want to play with data or anything like that at all. Or anything in
Oh,
particular.
I mean, this is a cliche one, but I add it into everything is the biggest tip of your life is to always wear sunscreen, if you've heard that podcast. But apart from that, if you are getting into different types of mapping or you just want to learn more, my biggest tip is ArcGIS blogs are a gold mine. You can learn so many things, and you can also follow people as an RSS feed. So you can be notified when your favorite people like John Nelson host something. So blogs, go on the blogs and learn new things. Woohoo, mapping.
Oh, awesome, Lisa. Thank you very much. Like I said, I want to respect your time here, let you go. But you have a great day. Thank you.
Yeah, you too, Renee. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Bounding Box today. Please subscribe for more content.